Our next speaker is Vicky von Blackwood. I met Vicky for the first time, Neil and I met Vicky for the first time maybe just over a month ago. And we learned a huge amount. She has a unique understanding of one of the aspects of this problem, and she's a speaker that I'm sure you'll learn a lot from. I certainly know we did. So we'd like to welcome Vicky von Blackwood.
I'm going to talk to you today about trafficking. This is actually pretty wrong. Let's try and shout a wee bit. I'm going to talk to you about trafficking, but that's such a complex issue, we couldn't possibly cover it in half an hour. So I'm mostly going to focus on UK domestic trafficking, the links within our care homes, which are massive, and finally the Crown's profit. Who profits from all this ultimately? And one of the reasons I'm going to cover this today is because a lot of people find the scale of this issue to be far-fetched and almost fanciful. So I'm going to break down some of the profits to you today so that you can start to see why the government would spend so much money to hide this crime. If there's one sort of general overarching theme of this, it's going to be that there's no such thing as prostitution or prostitutes. This is a cleverly designed smokescreen to apply stigma and vilify the victims, which helps hide the crime essentially. And I'll try and explain to you why my research has led me to that opinion. Missing Kids UK is an organisation. They work with all the national crime agencies, the Missing Persons Bureau, voluntary organisations like NSPCC, Bernardo's, things like that, and they're the main go-to people for missing people statistics. And they recently reported that a child goes missing in the UK every 3 minutes. That's 480 a day, 175,000 every year. That's a ridiculously high figure. It's estimated that there's 13 million children living in global slavery right now. Female children are the highest risk, and around 80% of trafficking is sexually orientated exploitation, with around 20% being labour exploitation. Now, 30% of all UK child trafficking victims are care home children. That's a huge figure. If we break it down and we think about all the different types of trafficking that we have kids being bred specifically for this, we have kids being sold by parents, we have them being trafficked in and out of war zones. So for a whole 30% of our child victims to be coming from our care homes is very significant. A non-government organisation, ECPAT UK, done a study, or recently tried to do a study, and they tried to look at care records from September 2014 to September 2015, and they asked all 217 local councils to provide them with certain information on trafficking victims within their care homes. Now, of that 217, only 45 councils even bothered to reply. Of the 45 that did reply, it was suggested that some of them were lying because they were in high-risk trafficking areas where all the other agencies around them were inundated with trafficking victims. Yet these care homes and local authorities claim to have not a single victim in their books. So that's highly dubious, and we must take into account that skews the statistics quite drastically. So, of the 217, 45 replied. Roughly 70,000 kids are in care at any given time. Now, we were only given records for 4,744, what the government called unaccompanied children. Now, from that 4,744, 593 of them went missing at least once. Of the 4,744 children, 760 were identified as trafficking victims. Now again, let's remind ourselves that is nowhere near the real figure, given we didn't get all the figures. This is a statistic that always makes me wobble, so I apologise. Of those 760 identified as trafficking victims, 207 were never seen again. That was in 2014 to 2015, and like I say, it's a very small fraction of the true figure. They just vanished. They were never seen again. 207 little lives just snuffed out. Another horrifying statistic was last collated in 2005, and never before or since. They haven't bothered. Like I said, it's worth mentioning there's around 70,000 kids in care at any given time in the UK. This study found that there are 100,000 instances of children being missing for one or more nights in the social work records that they hold. However, only a third of those were ever reported to the police. So there are children going missing in and out of these care homes for a day, 2 days, a week at a time. And nobody's telling the police, to the tune of 65,000 children a year. Why? Why? We need to be asking why. Our care systems are set up with very stringent checks put in place. There's no reason for these to not be reported. They have a system that they should be following, and if they're not, I would suggest we should look at why and start asking some questions. This isn't a new phenomenon. We've heard decades we've been hearing about trafficking being linked to our care homes. We look at some of the big cases like Kincora, Islington, Elmhouse, BBC Sava. All of these were directly based in care homes or heavily implicated local care homes. So it's not a new thing. It's a decades-long industry that they've been refining and refining until they've got it to a pretty nailed-down art form at this point. The reason care children are targeted at such an excessive rate is because they're easy to access. Between our corrupt state having complete control of our medical and legal systems and our family court systems, they're able to keep these crimes very well hidden. And care children also have, or few of them have, family to turn to who will then fight for them. So they're easy to access in a lot of different ways. They're also easy to manipulate because they tend to be quite broken as children, and children are malleable at the best of times, just being young. Then we have the fact that these kids, they kick out, they act out. There's a lot of sort of stigma attached to them in society, so discrediting them later is very easy. So these are some of the reasons that they're targeted. It's estimated that the global trafficking industry is worth 32 billion, but again, that's a gross underestimation because we have nowhere near the true figures. We're pulling these from the tiny fractions that we're getting, while this remains a hugely hidden crime. I'm going to start breaking down some of the prices to you, and this might shock some of you, and I do apologise. Child porn ranges all the way up to around £10,000 for a custom snuff film, or a custom film where a child of a certain look is chosen, or a certain act is committed in the film. Child snuff parties, an individual ticket goes from anything from £100,000 upwards. Some of the prices are astronomical when you're looking at sort of Cathy O'Brien's testimony on the presidential models. You're looking at ridiculous sums, but for the most part it caps at around 100 grand. A sex slave will range from completely free because they're, as I say, they're bred into it, they're sold by parents, they're snatched from the streets, they're coerced, they're groomed, they're beaten. So they're free a lot of the time, and you can pay upwards to £10,000 for a particularly sought after model. A particularly good looking child will go for a lot because they know how much they will make back from that child. The average global price in 2017 to buy a sex slave is $90 or £70. For a human life, £70. The average profit per child in your lower end brothels is around £300,000 per head. I'll break that down for you. That breaks down to be, these children are rented out for £50 an hour and they're worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. That gives their slave owner a profit about £3 grand a week, which over 52 weeks is £156,000. It costs on average around £6,000 to house and feed these children because they're kept mostly naked and starved. There's very, very little outgoing. They're kept in warehouses stocked up in piles. The rent is minimal. Here's where we get the 300 grand. Each of these children has an average lifespan of 2 years. Now the reason that lifespan sits at around 2 years is because it takes on average 2 years to break a human child. Once you break that human child, it will become lifeless and limp, which is no fun to a paedosadist. So the child will be killed because it will start to bring in bad reports, and it's a very competitive business. You want to have the best slaves in your brothel. Excuse me, I do apologise. I'll say a few minutes. Okay, now I'm going to start to try and give you an idea of how prevalent this is in our society at the moment. Now it's been left to run unchecked for so many decades. It was recently admitted by a police chief, a UK police chief, that last year they caught 750,000 people downloading child porn in the UK. That's not individual images, that's not individual children, that's individual people who like to watch child porn. That brings that figure at around 1 in 35. That's an astronomical figure, and we have to start picking apart how we got here. It's some of the horror that trafficking survivors, people who are in the sex industry, have to put up with. The mortality rate for a trafficking survivor is 200 times that of one of their counterparts, a non-traffic counterpart of the same age and ethnicity. 200 times, that's drastic, that's really, really severe. Another study was done that looked at abusers who were visiting saunas in Scotland, and in this study it was found that 54% of the sample taken all had violent convictions for sexual and violent crimes. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what these working trafficking people are putting up with day to day. This is where the most violent people are going to subject their easy prey to, I guess. You know, they're easy victims for them. It's estimated right now, this year, that there are 58,000 adult trafficking victims currently being falsely identified in our system as prostitutes. Around 47 million adults are in slavery globally right now. So we're starting to see the huge global scale of this problem. Now, it's not just our care homes, they also use their proxy companies. And we see corporations such as Foxconn, Nike and Dynacor all being caught trafficking people with no consequences, not a single consequence. They'll maybe pretend to fire a few people, but nobody sees a cell. There's no real justice. Now, for example, Dynacor, if we just take them as one example, they were caught trafficking children for sex in Bosnia when they were supposed to be there rebuilding. And they were taking these war-torn children and they were trafficking them. And what we have to look at is that 97% of Dynacor's funding comes from the US government. So are Dynacor trafficking children, or are the US government using a proxy company to get at these war-torn children? I would say that's more what's going on. It's the same elite families that are profiting over and over. When we track this money tree, it always comes back to the same handful of people. Now, of course, there's a media blackout on all of this. We don't hear about Dynacor trafficking in Bosnia. We don't hear about the royals being caught raping. It's hidden from us. It's all kept out our media, while they give wall-to-wall coverage of Muslim gangs, because that suits them. It gives them a scapegoat and it keeps us divided. It's a perfect cover for them. So now that we know that prostitution is just a vilified smokescreen to hide their flesh peddling, we should be looking at who's really profiting. Who's profiting the most here? Where is the end of this money tree? It's the British Crown, bizarrely enough. I was trying to as we all know. Now, the reason I can state that as an absolute fact is in 2009, the Office on National Statistics, they came forward and they gave us one of the most horrifying statistics I've heard in recent years. They told us that to get their GDP above France, they were now going to start counting publicly their drug profits and their prostitution profits, trafficking, slavery profits, we should be calling them. Now, in 2009, they claimed that they had made a profit from all drugs. Now, you're talking street drugs, all kinds of legal and illegal highs. You're talking about prescription drugs being resold, the whole drug market of the UK, every rave to every heroin addict. It's a huge market, and it's worth 4.4 billion in 2009. That year alone, Sexual slavery netted the Crown, and they were quite happy to brag about this, £5.3 billion. So for people who think that the Crown wouldn't expend any money to be trafficking our children, at 300 grand a head and £5 billion that they're willing to publicly admit, it starts to become a bit more realistic. We start to see exactly why so much money is being expended on targeting these survivors and silencing them. I'm almost done with things. Right. Just going to quickly finish up. This is the longest my mouth's been flapping that I haven't used the word revolution, so I'm going to stay true to form. And I'm going to leave you with this last statement. All my years of research and all my years surviving in this industry has brought me to the conclusion that this crime is so insidiously entrenched in our institutions and our organisations that nothing short of a full revolution will eradicate this until we re-seize our institutions and our organisations, and until we liberate the secret state files. We won't see an end to child trafficking because it is worth billions.